Adam here with the 44th weekly Greater Brisbane update for 2025. It's another big one this week. Talk of another teachers' strike, a massive hospital bungle, housing. We've got a bunch of updates from across Greater Brisbane's 5 local government areas. The updates are brought to you by Excel Psychology and YB Painting Services, and YB have an extra special Christmas season discount for you, but more on that later. A quick update to start with for those that missed it either here or on our Instagram account. The eastern side of the Story Bridge footpath has reopened after completion of the replacement of the footpath. The bigger issues with the bridge do persist, which is why they still have netting to catch any chunks of concrete that may fall from the structure. The business case for the full restoration of the Story Bridge will be completed next year, and of course we'll keep you across any updates along the way, so make sure you're subscribed here and following the Brisbane Channel's Instagram so you can stay in the loop. Next, an update on the situation as Queensland teachers negotiate for better wages and conditions. After the big strike and protest march that we covered back in August, talks continued between the teachers' union and the state government until the day that marked the 150th anniversary of state education in Queensland, when the Minister for Education issued an offer that included these pay increases, with an 8% increase over 3 years, as well as promising the establishment of a safety task force to deal with violence in the classroom. They also said they were addressing educators' workloads through their red tape reduction plan. In the ballot conducted by the Queensland Teachers Union, 2/3 of teachers voted against accepting the offer. In a media statement, the union said that serious reform is needed to address the teacher shortage crisis, occupational violence and aggression, and reduce crippling workload, and that teachers did not feel the offer on the table would achieve that. On Thursday afternoon this week, teachers held a rally outside of Parliament House in Brisbane, as well as at 6 other locations across the state, and the union is planning a second strike after Year 12 exams end on November 18, but before the end of the school year on December 12. Of course, we'll keep you posted. The next update is new information that has emerged related to the bungle at Caboolture Hospital that saw potentially thousands of people's results from medical imaging not being reviewed by the appropriate health professionals. After 5 weeks of review, it now seems that the number of patients who didn't receive their results is less than 130. Of that group, 38 people have been identified who should have received follow-up care based on the imaging results. Authorities expect that some of them may now suffer long-term health problems as a result. Metro North Health are now initiating an investigation to determine what went wrong and who is responsible. We'll let you know the findings once they're out early next year. We've got a lot of updates around housing this week, starting with Cotality's latest figures on housing prices. In the last quarter, Brisbane dwelling prices increased by 4.9%, behind Darwin and Perth, which both rose by 5.4%. For context, the average of all capitals was 2.9%. Over the year to October, Brisbane home prices increased by 10.8%. As usual, the quarterly price increases affected homes at the lower end of the price spectrum more than at the higher end. Rental prices in October had risen by 5.8% over 12 months. A major contributing factor to that rise in rents is Greater Brisbane's low number of vacant rentals. The vacancy rate across Greater Brisbane in September was 0.9%. Within that, Brisbane City sat at 1.1%, the Redlands had 1% of rentals vacant, and Ipswich and Logan were both at 0.8%. The Real Estate Institute of Queensland's CEO says that many people are staying put in their rentals not because they want to, but because they don't want to face the risk of competing for somewhere new. And amongst all of this, the Australian Bureau of Statistics has released figures on the number of building approvals across the nation, and in September, while Victoria and New South Wales saw large increases in the number of dwellings approved for construction, Queensland saw an 11% drop in approvals, the largest out of the 3 states that did see a decrease. And we were the only state that had a drop in the number of private sector houses approved. So at a time when we really need increased supply, it appears we're going in the other direction. These are definitely very stressful times, and if you're looking for support with anxiety, depression, stress, ADHD, or relationship challenges, one of the sponsors of this video, Excel Psychology, may be what you're looking for. They're a warm, inclusive psychology practice based in Spring Hill, about 500 metres from Central Station. With a diverse team of clinical and registered psychologists, they'll help match you with the right psychologist for your needs, often with short wait times. They offer Medicare rebates with a mental health treatment plan and also support work cover and NDIS participants. I featured members of the Excel Psychology team in a video with tips on handling stress, and you can check that out here. But back to our housing issues, and some fear the upcoming 2032 Olympic and Paralympic Games will only exacerbate housing problems, particularly for those at risk of or experiencing homelessness. This week, the Australian Housing and Urban Research Institute released its second report in a long-term study monitoring the impact of the Brisbane 2032 Olympic and Paralympic Games on low-income and vulnerable households. The report measures housing and rental affordability, social housing availability and suitability, and demand for housing and homelessness services against a baseline position established in the first report from 2024. In a nutshell, the 2025 report found that dwelling approvals are up 10% near Olympic sites. That sounds like a contradiction with what I just said about approvals, but despite more dwelling approvals overall, social housing is not keeping up with demand. Importantly, rental and mortgage affordability worsened over the 12-month period, and the number of people using homelessness services increased by 20%. We mentioned earlier the 1% rental vacancy rate. Well, the report also compares Brisbane's vacancy rate with the weighted average of all Australian capitals, and we're the red line. So any new development that adds to housing supply is a good thing, especially if it's near other amenities and public transport. So let's get to some good news, and it's an update that some viewers of the channel have been asking for a while now. The site of the Toombul Shopping Centre, which has sat as a shell of its former self since the 2022 floods, is finally seeing the stirrings of action, with Irvine Property Group buying the site from the former owner Mirvac. The new owner is planning a mixed-use development which will include a new shopping centre along with new housing. They've said the precinct would be retail-led, but they've not given any indication of timelines for the development. We'll keep you posted, so make sure you're not just subscribed to the Brisbane channel, but that you also have all notifications enabled by clicking the bell, as people have been missing out on some of the channel's updates. By the way, photos used in this segment are by ABC's Kenji Sato. Credit where credit's due. Some other developments we may see in the future include 2 residential towers rising to 36 and 53 levels in Woolloongabba, the tallest of which will be among Brisbane's tallest buildings. The 2 towers will be connected by a 6-storey podium and a 1,160 square metre public plaza that will connect Stanley and Trafalgar Streets. It will also feature what they are calling the Steam Gallery and Garden, which will feature exhibition spaces, creative studios and event spaces. In the James Street precinct in Fortitude Valley, plans have been revealed for a mixed-use retail and commercial project that has been designed in collaboration with internationally acclaimed architect Koichi Takada. It will house luxury retail, boutique offices, as well as a hospitality venue in the building's basement level with a restaurant and bar. There'll also be a rooftop garden with views of the city. Just wondering, am I the only one who thinks the design looks like oyster mushrooms? They do say that Takada is known for his nature-inspired designs, so even if your home isn't designed by an internationally renowned architect, you still want it looking its best, and the other sponsor of this video, YV Painting, are offering a special festive discount of 15% off their painting services. They recently won first or second place in 5 different categories of the Master Painters Australia Queensland Awards for 2025, and when you see their professionalism and the quality of their work, it's no surprise. With fixed pricing and a 5-year warranty on all their work, you can be sure there'll be no unpleasant surprises. Claim your 15% discount by scanning this QR code or the link in the video description by New Year's Day. But not all of us are lucky enough to have stable housing, and this week one of the tents providing shelter for people experiencing homelessness in Musgrave Park caught fire. A viewer of the channel sent me this footage. The firefighters arrived shortly after this footage was captured, and thankfully nobody was hurt. Paul Slater from Northwest Community Group, a non-profit that helps people experiencing homelessness, told me that unfortunately this kind of thing is quite common. If you'd like to understand more about the homelessness situation in Greater Brisbane, I'd highly recommend checking out the Northwest Community Group's YouTube channel and also the Nourish Street YouTube channel. They talk with people experiencing homelessness as well as others that work in that space. Definitely gives a different kind of insight into the situation. I've put links to both of them in the video description. Let's loop around the Greater Brisbane LGAs with some quick updates. But first, one quick one that affects all LGAs is the news that from the 15th of December, Translink's smart ticketing will no longer support payment using American Express cards. This is due to changes to the Queensland Government's banking arrangements across all departments. Next is a bit of a non-update. I promised in last week's video that I'd be asking Brisbane City Council for an update on progress with the business cases for the Metro bus network extensions. Well, I did get a response, but it was simply that there's no updates at this time. I'll let you know as soon as there's any real updates on that. On to Ipswich. Last week's video mentioned the plans to paint the Scramble Crossing in Ipswich Central and the backlash to the announcement on Mayor Teresa Harding's Facebook page. Well, the work, which was scheduled to begin on November 16, has been put on hold pending a design review. Council has said that some elected members had raised concerns about the design and cost of the project, and that Council would be considering ways to simplify the design and reduce project costs. Staying in Ipswich, this week a 46-bed residential drug and alcohol rehabilitation centre opened its doors. Run by NGO Lives Lived Well, it will provide a 36-bed residential rehabilitation facility and 10-bed withdrawal service for people aged 18 and over. Did you know that if you have an inflatable or portable pool in Queensland, if it either holds water more than 30 centimetres deep or over 2,000 litres, or if it has a filtration system, you'll need to have a building works permit, pool safety certificate and a compliant fence? While this is the case across the state, Logan City Council are urging their residents to be mindful of pool safety as we head into summer. And maybe you can help me fact check this, but there's a rumour, maybe an urban myth, that some Queensland councils have fined people after checking satellite images and seeing kiddie pools in people's backyards that are not complying with those laws. I'd be interested to know if there's any truth to that. Moving on to the Redlands, where residents are being invited to have their say on what the council should prioritise in their 2026-27 budget. There's a community engagement survey online, which I'll link in the video description, but you can also have your say via postcards available at council libraries and customer service centres. Heading up north now, and after dredging and movement of 250,000 cubic metres of sand, the first breakthrough on Bribie Island has been closed up. At this stage, it's only sand, so let's hope it can hold through what's being predicted to be an intense storm season until it can be revegetated. I've got a handful of updates for Moreton Bay, but I'm going to put them all in a single post on the Brisbane Channel's Posts tab here on YouTube and also on the channel's Instagram account. If you're interested in the future of Southeast Queensland's public transport, Better Transport Queensland are holding their AGM on the 23rd of November at Carindale Library, and anyone's welcome to attend. I'll leave a link in the video description. I don't have anything to give my 2 cents on this week, but I'd like to share a few videos in the works that will be out soon. Firstly, I'll be doing one on Moreton Bay's big plans for the future. I'll also be doing another on hidden disabilities and why it's important to be aware and empathetic. I'm also doing one on Victoria Park, looking backward and forwards, what it has been, what it may become, but also some of the challenges that may lie in between. But I'd also like you to refresh my memory of the things you'd like to see more. For those that missed the update, I've cut back to 1 video a week to get my thesis completed now that the channel is more stable, but I'm really looking forward to getting that done so I can bring you more videos again, and more variety of video beyond just these weekly updates. You know the drill when it comes to giving the video a thumbs up, buying me a coffee to support the work I put in, or becoming a channel member. And of course, as always, I really appreciate each person supporting this channel as a member. But all good things must come to an end, just like this video.